Oh, well. I went up to that end of the property and done that one, and then found I had another dead box thorn that I'd chucked another few dead box thorns I'd clipped off on. And the ones that I clipped off, I thought, well, better throw those in. So I threw those in. And then I realised I had another little dead box thorn with a bunch of grass going through it that had actually collapsed onto the ground years ago. Well, this has been dead for like 10 years or more. Went over there to light it up, and oh, great. Another sheep with a lamb hanging out, and this one, lamb's head was just flopping along. It was long gone. It was dead yesterday. Anyway, to go chase to that one, and this time I was a little bit smarter and tried to run it into the fence, and it ran along the side of the fence and then gave up reasonably. It was reasonably quickly, actually. It didn't put up much of a flaming effort. Sometimes they're dumb like that. You can try and get them to run towards the fence, or even chase them beside a fence, and then they'll decide just to headbutt the fence, and then bang, it all stall, and they'll sort of go fall over or whatever, and that's pretty much, what happened. But it didn't last for any more than about bloody 20 seconds before it, rolled over. So anyway, got onto it, sure as eggs. The legs are stuck in there again, and pulled it out. And I thought, well, we better put our hands in there and make sure we've got any placenta. Like, I already had me, flipping hands in there to get it out, obviously. I thought, well, I'll check if there's any placenta or any other muck, because, you want a clean uterus so nothing else is there to fester. And I grabbed hold of what I thought was a placenta and pulled it out, and I thought, you've got to be gentle with placentas, because if you pull them away too quick, it'll hemorrhage, and the thing will just bleed to death. And so I'm gently pulling at this thing a little bit, and gently pulled it again, and it felt like it had something inside it. And it was sort of the consistency of like minced up bits of grass, almost like intestines. And then I realised I actually had hold of its actual uterus. But somehow there was still the vagina in part. So it may have been that the vagina and the uterus had come out through the cervix, but the cervix and the vagina were still in the right place, if you get what I'm saying. And then I realised, oh, yes, that thing that feels like an intestine there is probably actually an intestine or something of those, something like that. So I thought, well, better put it back in. So I pushed it in, and I put it right back in, and it went up. Bloody hell, it was about 4 inches off my frickin' elbow. Probably not my actual elbow, but the little piece that bends in there Anyway, I got it to about there, and I'm not joking, I would have pushed it about 20 inches inside the animal. I mean, I just could not believe it was going that far in. And then I went to pull my hand back out, and as I went to pull my hand back out, well, this thing's tight around my arm. It's like a vacuum. It went to pull it out as I was pulling my arm out, because there's no air in there. It's a vacuum stuck to me blooming arm sort of thing. So I thought, shit, can't do this right. Like, I can't just pull it out like this, or it'll just come back out with it. So I thought, how the bloody hell am I going to pull this off? And I thought, I can't really try and get any air in there to, stop this thing essentially airlocked around my arm, like, vacuum sealed around my arm. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I still had my arm up there and pushed it in again to make sure it was far enough, and then I sort of started waving my hand like that and moving my thumb a little bit. And as I'm wiggling my thumb and moving my hand, I managed to pretty much get my arm out without an issue. And that was it. And then I realised all along the bloody placenta was sitting on the back legs of the lamb, wasn't it? That was already laying dead on the ground. So anyway, I ended up, it was right near where that big bunch of box thorns was that we pulled out up there and burnt the previous year, like a huge big stack, big patch against the fence line, and I was only literally a few metres from that. It was all rabbit holes, and I thought, beauty, so I shoved it down a rabbit hole, covered it over. So it's essentially, you know, I buried it. Fox might dig it up, but at least, you know, dead things you're supposed to bury, and, well, I buried it. So, yeah. Anyways, the old girl was sitting there for another, I went and lit that one I was saying about, and there was another big stack of stuff my father had. I lit that big stack up as well. And that was burning for a bloody long time. Instead of being all reasonably light stuff, you know, like a lot of the things I burn with the box on, you know, the big stuff's all gone out of it. Or if it isn't gone out of it, it's only, you know, 2% or 5% of the thing, you know. The majority of what I'm burning in bonfires is either rotten stuff or thin stuff that'll catch on easily. Wow. He had logs thicker than my bloody leg in there. Yeah, like when you got this log that's friggin' 9 inches in diameter, it's not sort of going to catch on too well. And there's plenty of other stuff that was, you know, 5 inches in diameter, and it was so slow. Oh shit. I didn't know if it was going to burn at all. It did. Majority of it did. Some of the big logs still didn't. And the ones near the edge obviously didn't. But I kept pushing and shoving and trying to pack it in. And I looked over and I thought, I know they need a rest, because some of them will sit there for another 4 hours or more, you know, trying to rest after the big commotion of lamb coming out. And that was still sitting there, and I thought, this thing moves? Like, I've been here for an hour and a half, 2 hours now, you know, like, you know, it'd probably been an hour and a half since I'd done that, and I thought, is it going to move or not? So I went over to check the little fire I had with the box thorn that's been dead for about 10 years, lying on the ground. I just went over to have a look to see what that was doing. I thought, I'm going to go up and check her. And they get this thing where they just sort of lay on their side and they can never roll themselves onto their feet. And of course I went over and she started kicking, and like, that was it. She just couldn't stand up. So I thought, well, shit. It's lucky I actually did look at her. And you know, a lot of them, they got to rest, so they'll sit there for quite a while. But with her, she sort of, yeah, couldn't get up either. She wanted to get away, but she couldn't. And I thought, well, you know, like it's not like as though she's just been in labour. It's only that she's just had it pulled out as such. So she shouldn't be that exhausted, because the labour as such had stopped, you know, probably yesterday sometime, or, you know, early hours of this morning it would have, or late last night it would have stopped. So, you know, she shouldn't be that exhausted. And sure as eggs, yeah, she's just kicking and couldn't get a grip. So I propped her up and bang, off she went and ran off. And yeah, she's just walking around with the other sheep now. So a little bit sore for it all, as you could well imagine. But in that, I've saved its life, because, you know, it's like this. We've actually had one that the head didn't even get out of it once, so I couldn't. I was told what it was, but then I couldn't see anything and nothing. It was sort of like as though the head wasn't stuck at the back at all. It's almost like it was all just slipped back into the uterus, and then it had closed up and everything. And the flipping flies are hanging around, but to look at it, you wouldn't really pick what was wrong. And my father did tell me, but then, you know, everything was closed, so I couldn't get a hand down there. And in those days, I wasn't as skilled with it all as I am now. And I sort of didn't know exactly what to do, and I was hoping it would just sort of push it out, but no, the labour had stopped. And essentially, that just died. You know, it just goes rotten, and the whole thing will die. You know, and it's as simple as that. In Africa, there's such a thing as this is fucked up, and I'm going to tell you because it's on the subject, as a fistula. what this is where something essentially happens to an African woman. And can you believe it? Their idea of medicine is, it's still in the witch doctor stage, and it is just fucked up, some of their ideas. You know, your wife's sick, how do you diagnose her? We go to the market, we buy somebody else's goat, we bring this goat back, we kill the goat, we cut the guts out of it, like disembowel, you know, kill it and then disembowel it, and then we trifle through the intestines with a stick to diagnose what your wife's got, regardless of the fact that that goat wasn't even owned by you and wasn't on the same land as you. It's witch doctrine. They get babies stuck in them over there, and they don't get pulled out. And what ends up happening often enough is sometimes the baby's head's still there, and they walk around with it like that, and it wears right through from the vagina through to the bowel, and it just stinks like fuck, and they become social outcasts. In the case of sheep, it'll just go rotten, and it will actually cause blood poisoning, or one way or the other, the sheep will die from it. So the sheep obviously had two options: 5 minutes of pain caused by me, or die. You know, and I think 5 minutes of pain and live is better than nothing and die. And of course, you know, sheep are a commodity. You know, these things are money. I know you don't like looking at it like that. I don't really think of it like the average corporate shark would. It's just being, you know, I realise they're animals that, you know, do have a personality and do have feelings. But at the end of the day, also, you know, it's one live sheep is one more fleece we can sell next year and the year after, and hopefully probably, you know, another 5 years more. So anyway, and then, you know, once you've obviously got the lamb out and everything's cleared out, you know, it's probably able to get pregnant next year, and even if it's not, so what? It still grows wool. So anyway, long story short, she will live to see another day and another shearing and quite possibly a few more lambs. It's just one of these things, though. You know, just the time they got pregnant and the time the grass is coming through, that looks all right. I mean, it's not even 3/4 of an inch tall, though, and it's so hard for them to bite it off. And what there is to bite off, what they can get at is probably, you know, the last 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, and then there's not sort of so much by the time you work out 100 and whatever it is sheep, 130, 40 sheep. You know, you sort of, they need more nutrition to be having lambs than they are now, but I don't think there's a great deal of them pregnant anyway, so there might be a few more lambs, but I don't think we're going to, you know, it's not like the whole flock's going to drop a flaming lamb. It might just be a half dozen lambs, and that'll be it sort of thing out of the whole 130 odd sheep. So anyway, it's just the way it goes when the nutrition levels aren't so great because the grass hasn't come back as quick as it could have or whatever, and they got pregnant at the wrong time or whatever, and yeah, it's just the way it goes. I might try and go down and get at least one of those stacks. I don't want to do all of them because I do sort of want to throw those other box thorns on, but there's one there where any box thorn near it has already been thrown on top, so I might just burn that. But anyway, I've got to have some lunch because it is about 1:22 right about now. How is this? See, a little bit of broken something there. That effectively is a wooden ball. And when you look at the grain, it swirls around in a circle there. Sort of same on the other side a bit. It's just freaking unbelievable. I think it's lost a little bit of bark or something there, but I just think, how the hell did it form a ball? I mean, you know, there's a chance that there could have been a stick going along through there, and then that's where the stick's broken off right there. But just weird, you know, almost find like a ball appear out of nowhere. And I know there's, you know, galls on trees, I see those, but yeah, I suppose, you know, if something hadn't have broke off there, then it would have been truly strange, but it could have just been a stick of some sort that was attacked by an insect, but it almost feels like I've found a ball that's just single, solitary, and of its own, made completely out of wood. Oh, alrighty, back at the on-grid house. Running the microwave, I tell you what, it's a dream to be able to come over here and use this microwave. Yeah, I went down to light up just one, just do the big one down the bottom, and well, I done 4. I done the whole lot, and yeah, old fire Nazi didn't bat an eyelid, thankfully. It's been quite a while since I've done that fence, as you guys know, and that was in between when I was working at Chinese boss's vineyard and the brother-in-law Chinese boss who was a plasterer. That's how long those stacks have been there for. So anyway, the wind was staying calm, and a little bit of a drift at one point there, and then it sort of went back to nothing again. So I thought, well, I've looked at the forecast. It's supposed to be all on for young and old by tomorrow night, so I thought, well, I'm going to make a go of this. And made a go of it, and we have got every stinking one. So that's good. I am bloody worn out. All I had was a bit of pasta for lunch, and that was about damn near 3 o'clock, and was it now 7:15, and I've only just got back from all that baloney, probably about 7 o'clock or something, so yeah, only about 6.5 hours sleep or whatever. I stayed up too late last night, for sure. No question about it. But anyway, it's all done, and I'm going to have a good proper sleep tonight. You probably see me IBCs up there somewhere. Got quite a lot of blooming Peruvian pepper trees down here. Those in the States are probably known as Californian pepper trees, but they're actually Peruvian pepper trees. Get out of the light so you can see that better. Still shadow on it. Yeah, they're all starting to ripen. Pink peppercorns. They've got a nasty outside taste, but if you can get that off, it tastes alright. Tastes like normal peppercorns if you can get that pink piece off, and underneath there there's a slimy bit. Some people actually prefer that flavour. In fact, there's even a drink made out of the flavour of that slimy bit, which I honestly think tastes like shit. But there's a Swedish soup that's also made out of rose hips, and there's a national drink of Romania I think is made out of rose hips as well. But some people go for the Peruvian peppercorns. I don't, unless I've got some way of removing that outer layer. They're considered a gourmet spice, especially if you can't taste anything. Just going around here picking up bits of wire. This is all these bonfires from last night. Actually, this one and the next one up didn't even need any diesel. They were just so much fine material that they just burnt on their own. Some of the heavier stuff laying near the outside didn't burn, and it I actually kicked this back in, but by then it was too late. There wasn't enough coals in here to actually relight it, so you're left with little bits like that, and charcoal on the other side. I was tempted to collect some of this up, but I probably should be collecting it up and just burning in the little... a lot of you guys haven't seen it, the cylindrical wood heater thingy. It's like a blimmin' glorified fire pit thing. That's a right size, actually, isn't it? If they're too full of charcoal, I could never be stuffed to deal with them because, you know, they're pretty much gone anyway. A lot of the stuff I do burn has got a little bit of the bark sort of going to charcoal a little bit, but, you know, there's still a fair bit of wood in it. I know we've got to hack some of these out. That one there you can see. That was up further and actually blew down here. That big bunch you can see there, that is a whole mass of blooming trees all in together. A lot of small ones in there, I think. The funny thing about these previn pepper trees, you can't actually just whack the peppercorns in the ground and expect them to go straight up. Like as in if you'd done it in potting mix, wouldn't work. The germination rate isn't very good unless they are in the leaf litter left behind from adult trees, which means you find little ones sprouting underneath, and you either use the soil that's full of leaf litter to get them going in small pots, or you literally just transplant them, the ones that have fell from, you know, off the tree straight underneath it, and there will be small ones growing underneath the bigger trees often enough. Oh, I get puffed out. I'm sort of going up a hill here. Yeah, it's just sort of cracks in the blooming ground because it's so dry. It's another crack in the ground. That worked out pretty good. That's not flaming much wire either. Anyway. It's actually got quite a lot on it, this one. A lot of these actually hitting the ground. They're all laying on the ground. There's quite a substantial amount here. Bloody piles of them. I don't really see the birds eating them either. Which is sort of not surprising when you think about it. When you burn this wood, it smells exactly like the tree does when you brush up against it. The same smell as the peppercorn or whatever. They've got a bit of a tendency, some of these, to actually get a lot of smaller underhanging leaves, and you can go in there with a reciprocating saw or a, what's his name, chainsaw, and sort of cut off all the little, usually dead sticks that are all on the trunk, and then all of a sudden you got like a big internal space that you can walk under that's shaded on the outside like this, but you got plenty of room on the inside, and good spot for hiding things. And no, I don't mean drugs. Everyone keeps asking me, why don't you grow drugs? No, not going to happen. Wouldn't be able to grow them under that amount of shade anyway. I've been driving for flipping miles. Just felt like going on a wander, and so I did, but I thought, well, let's look for this other piggery that I know is out here somewhere. A former workmate used to work at this piggery. He used to live in this area. And I am stuffed black and blue to find where this piggery is. And I've actually seen it on Google Maps, but I can't find the damn thing. And I know I'm in the right flipping road and everything. It is shockingly flat out here. you got sort of mountains in the background. You've got a mountain range in the background. I don't know if you can see it that well. Hang on. Over there. I know someone who was offered a house for about $100,000 out here, which in Australian terms is pretty cheap. And I think I know what one it was, but I'll tell you what, they're pretty bland, plain old houses. There's no question about that. And you sort of look at the distance you got to travel to get to the city from here. It's like, shit, why would you bother? Unless you're an actual farmer, farming this super flat land. This goes like this flipping miles back in the other direction. Well, in the direction I'm driving now. I've just done a U-turn previously.